Hi and welcome to Design It with Tammy Gibbs. I'm Tammy, and today we're going to be talking about vintage and retro and how to create vintage and retro look art using AI. I use Artistly. I'll be using Artistly during the demonstration and everything, and I know that these styles, the vintage look, the retro look, Victorian, all of those things are used across a lot of different digital products. People use them for invitation, stationery. They use them for wall art, for junk journal, just so many different applications for these, even in education, to be able to render the imagery that is true to the period. And one of the things that I have discovered that a lot of people don't really factor in is that you can, when you're writing your prompts, you can do vintage, but a lot of times the AI, vintage could be a lot of different things. Retro can mean a lot of different things. So in order to actually get closer to the time period or the look that you're looking for, you kind of have to know what time period the look that you're wanting to recreate is from. And so recently I did add a new playbook to my collection of playbooks, and this one is vintage and retro. And so I'm going to be sort of showing you some things inside of it. And this particular playbook is meant to be a resource for anybody that is using those vintage and retro styles, so that you have all of the phrasing that you need, and it is all divided up. It does go into quite a bit of detail for the different time periods, and so it's going to be easier for you to match up things as far as looking at an image and saying, that's what I want to create, but I'm just typing vintage in or I'm typing retro in, and it's giving me something totally different, so far away from what I'm looking for. So these are some examples of some of the images I have created using some of the sample prompts and then tweaking from my sample prompts. Loving this. This is under the Grunge Scrapbook, under the AI Illustrator generators. And these labeled apothecary bottles or in jars are just so super cute. Let me just show you a few of them. I love this one. This one has such a real glass look to it and everything. So let's just go and I'll show you really quickly. Let me move this out of the way. Let me pop in here and I'll just show you what the cover of this one looks like. Okay, so move this out of the way. All right, so this is going to give you sort of an idea of what it looks like, and I'm just going to pop it over to, I think 6 is the... Okay, we have an introduction. We'll go through the table of contents, and then we're going to start playing with it. So part 1 is vintage. Well, the introduction, of course, is how to use the playbook and who it helps, and how to build better vintage-inspired prompts, mix and match formulas, you know, all that sort of thing. The introduction stuff. And then part 1 is vintage and retro foundations. So this is where it walks you through the differences between vintage and retro versus antique versus nostalgic, you know, and how era-specific phrasing changes your output. And so this is kind of what I was talking about a few minutes ago. And, you know, how to use the phrase banks, and then, you know, without copying blindly. And then how to combine style, subject, color, texture, and layout. Universal, vintage, and retro prompting tips that are in there. Common vintage, retro mistakes to avoid. Then we've got our cheat sheets and the master cheat sheet, vintage and retro visual direction. Part 2 takes you into the Victorian and antique ephemera style snapshot. So that's going to be encompass a lot of that Victorian era. And so you've got, your different paper and ephemera subjects, your botanical and nature motifs, heirloom object motifs, decorative details, and then you go into the era appropriate art styles. So like if you go here, it's going to give you like the different, like this one's elegant and detailed styles that you can add. Like you can add the Victorian engraving style, antique etching. It gives you all the phrasing. And one of the things that I come back to all of the time, especially when I know there are going to be some people that have probably not been as exposed to creating AI art. And even if you're not even creating art, if you are actually just using AI, chat bots even. The biggest differentiator between a person that does and is able to use the AI really well and someone who struggles, or, just because you can type something in and get a response does not mean it's a good response. And a lot of that goes all the way back to, it's kind of like junk in, junk out kind of a thing. And it works that way a lot with AI because it depends on your prompt. That's why a lot of people can prompt and get horrible results. And then some people can prompt and they get, things that you wouldn't even believe that particular AI generator could even produce. So it's really important. And my playbooks were designed specifically to help communicate with the AI, to give them enough information to give you the results that you're trying to get. So all these phrases are that way. So like, like decorative details, ornate corner flourishes. So let's just take this and let me just start off with a little demonstration. So if we go over into Artistly now and we wanted to do, we're just going to go into the AI Art Illustrator. I'm going to go over here and we're going to start building we're going to build from, from a blank. Okay, so then we need to kind of say what kind of ornate corner flourishes. So we're going to go back over here and we're going to choose this old book plate illustration. We're going to add that on there. And now I do actually have some little formulas. If you've been watching me very long, you know I don't tend to stick with any particular formula. I build, I get a result, and then I tweak from that result to get, that's what I need. I get a baseline, and then I work from that. That's just the way I do it. Doesn't mean you have to do it. Okay. So we're going to go over here. We're still in styles and palettes. So let's choose a palette. So let's go with that's naturalist, that's neutral. Let's go with deep burgundy and antique gold. We're going to pop that in there. Okay. And we really haven't added, like what else we want on it. We've got ornate corner flourishes, old book plate illustration, deep burgundy and antique gold. We're just going to look some more. And I'm kind of just pulling things out. But I'm just trying to show you all the different things that you have. So product layout, so single subject layouts. So this would be centered, specimen composition, book plate style centered illustration, single engraved object with caption. Okay, here's a collage. You've got stacked correspondence, all those things. But we've got flourishes. So probably we're going to work with, and these are some more detailed. Okay, so this is visual cheat sheet here. So this gives you some things like subject types, botanicals. Let's just do botanicals. And we're not naming the botanicals. I do have playbooks that have all sorts of different flowers. We're just going to see what this does. This is a very, very basic starter prompt. And let's see what it comes up with. And then we can go from there. Okay, lovely. Okay, so we do have ornate flourishes in the corners. We do have a little bit of a a botanical here. We didn't name what type of botanical. So, and then the old bookplate illustration, we can like go back in and we can take that out to see if that lightens everything. We've got the deep burgundy and antique gold, so it's probably not going to do, but we can actually subtract that from it, and we can see how that changes the direction of the prompt. This is actually a very pretty image. We also don't have anything specific to watercolor or anything like that. Okay, so this did change it a little bit, and now we've got, still have the really pretty flourishes, so we've got a really pretty image here. And now we're going to change up and show you what changing the aspect ratio on top of tweaking the actual prompt, how that works. So now we have the gold flourishes with just a little touch of floral here. Now, what we can do is we can be more specific about what floral we have here, or we could add something different there. So let's go back to the playbook now, and let's look and say lockets. Let's say we want lockets. So we're going to change here, and we're going to go back in, and where we have botanicals, we're going to say antique lockets. And we're going to do it in the 9:16 aspect ratio. And let's see. Okay. So this actually, it did not put any lockets. So what we're going to, but it did actually, this is a beautiful frame. So what we're going to do now is we're actually going to change this up. We're going to put it a little bit more qualification. So in the beginning, we're going to put an accent of antique silver lockets against a calling card with ornate corner flourishes, and then see what that does. Let's change the aspect ratio a little bit and see what it's going to give us. It's not exactly the right for a calling card aspect ratio, but okay, there we go. So now we have a locket, we have the corner flourishes, we've got that burgundy and gold look. So there you go. So that's the way you can build from that. So we're going to go back now, and we're going to pop back to the table of contents, and we're going to go through textures, aged paper, brush strokes, and hand finished details, you know, all of these different ones. But then once we get past the part 3 is vintage botanical and naturalist illustration, and it also has the era appropriate art styles, your medium and technique phrase bank, which is like how to get your watercolors and stuff. So your color palette, your specimen archive palettes. So that would be like cream, this one's cream sepia and archival black. So we could copy that and take it in here. And then we're just going to go back in here, and I'm just going to erase it out. Okay, so I'm going to erase this all the way out, and we're going to start building something else. So we've got the colors down, okay? And then we're going to this is print and reproduction techniques that we can add to it. So let's do this archival. Botanical reproduction. Okay, I'm going to go back and let's figure out what we want to do. There's textures, so we can do aged field guide paper. And sometimes these things are going to overlap and, you know, give you a totally different look. So it won't give you one or the other. It'll kind of mix them up. So let's see. Maybe we don't have anything we want there. We're going to use Thin Naturalist Serif Text. Now, one thing about this is I'm not sure how readable, because I'm not going to tell it exactly what to put on there, if it even includes any text. So that's just not what I'm trying to show you. You can get into that differently. Now, what we want to do is, let's do butterfly specimens arranged in rows. Okay. And this one, like I said, we're just building it straight from, and we're just going to try it out. And then we can tweak from what we get. But this is just, in just a few seconds, just trying to pull some of these things together. There we go. So now we have a butterfly print. Isn't that cool? Now, when you take the same thing and maybe you change it over to the Steampunk Journal, you're probably going to get potentially a little bit different look. And so that's where you want to work with. You get your prompt down, going in the right direction, and then you sort of try on for size the different generators. See, this one, to me, is a little bit more, to me, I like this treatment of it a little bit better. It looks like a page from some sort of specimen book, which is a lot what you're wanting. You know, either one of these are really good, but these are things that you can tell. Okay, so let's go back and then let's do maybe a small animal study with caption and see how that changes everything. So what we're going to want to do, we'll go into this one since we kind of like that. And we're going to go here to and change the butterfly part of it, just that one thing. And then we're going to see what kind of small animal study. Now, as you notice, I have not specified what small animal. So I'm letting the AI choose that for me. If I were really, okay, so it actually didn't do an animal. It actually did and I know why. It did a flower. And the reason it did that is because I did not remove archival botanical reproduction out of that. Let's go in and remove that part. You have to kind of, sometimes you forget what you've got in there and it overrides certain things. So let's just try it again and see if we get a different result this time. But your results are going to be based on your choices, like whether you're going to fill in what kind of animal, like we could have said a deer. Okay, so this didn't really do anything. It's the paper. We got the paper part. So we need to put the small animal study with caption at the beginning so that takes more precedence. And we'll do small animal study and small animal rabbit study with caption. We'll try that. That's where you come in. I can give you all of the little ingredients, but where your art comes in is the way you use them. See? Very good. Beautiful, vintage looking animal. Now, the caption, it didn't give us a caption. It didn't automatically come up with one. So we can go back here and we can say the caption should read, and I'm making up something because I don't know what kind of rabbit this is. North American hare. Should be beneath the image of the rabbit. So, and this is all on the fly. But this is how I build things. I don't ever want anybody watching my videos think that when I just go in, I just sit down and automatically I come up with the perfect image the first time. I work at it. There we go. So here we go, North American hair. And it did put something else here, but now we have an image that, gosh, these are so cool. And they are so vintage looking. They really are, give you that older look. And it's a natural. It's not a fakey looking, aged look. I'm real pleased with the way these are turning out. So, but that's how you refine. You know, you can say how you want the rabbit. You know, you can refine the color of the bunny. You can refine what you want the underneath to say. You can refine whether you want flowers in it. You know, those are all the little things that you can add to it based on what you're going to use that image, you know, how you're going to use that image in your products, you know. So all those things are so cool. So now we're going to go back to our table of contents again, and we're going to look at this one. Let's see, we'll go to page 7. I want you to know what all's in here. Okay, so we did the vintage, botanical, and naturalist. So that one's the one we just demoed. Okay, so now we're going to 4, which is vintage storybook and paper doll nostalgia. That is so super cool and cute. Isn't it adorable? And we know that those are things that are very popular in clip art, in things for baby showers, things for doing the paper. You know, a lot of people are doing the baby shower, the paper dolls and stuff, you know, like new versions. So this basically walks you through that whole thing, like dress-up sheets, storybook style clip art collections. You know, these are just nursery wall art, vintage classroom visuals, children's invitations, holiday characters, digital papers. There's so many different things you can do it. So these are some different storybook character subjects. So you've got a child reading under a tree, a girl in a garden apron, a child carrying storybooks. Okay, so let's just start with this one. Let's do this one, the little boy in the suspenders. Okay, so I'm going to be doing some of my own thoughts on this, and I'm just going to go back in here. Okay, so I'm going to take all of this out. And I'm going to put a cute little boy with black hair or black curly hair. And this is just me typing things. And then I'm going to add little boy in suspenders. So since we already have little boy here, we're going to take out the little boy, and then we're going to say the little boy is wearing suspenders. So we're going to add a little. The little boy is wearing suspenders and a straw hat. He is holding a cane fishing pole, and there is a galvanized metal bucket sitting in the grass beside him. Okay, so I have no idea what this little boy is going to look like because I only gave it some very vague direction. But we're going to start with this, and then we're going to go with, you know, our colors and tweaking it if need be. Sometimes your very first, oh, he's cute. He is cute, but he is a lot more, I don't like the texture and stuff, so I need to go back in and I need to look at colors and the styles. So this is the styles here. You've got styles, but then we need art styles. So print and ink, texture. I'm looking for brush strokes. Okay, so we want delicate watercolor wash. That's what we want. And I want to add hand, whoops, in the grass. Okay, I want to add hand drawn. And then we're going to put the delicate watercolor wash. And then we're going to do it again. Because he's a cute character. I just wanted more of an artistic look instead of the... this is actually super cute, and it is cute. There we go. So we've begun to get now into a look. Now I can refine him. We have our fish and pole, we have our bucket, just like we have the suspenders, we have the hat. Super cute. So now I want to refine the actual character. So cute little boy. We're gonna put minimalist facial features with black curly hair with dot eyes and the black curly hair, and just see how it works. Minimalist, especially in Artistly, sometimes is a hit and miss. I'll just be honest with you, to get the little dot eyes and get everything exactly the way you want it. Okay, so see, it did change it a little bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this particular prompt, and then I actually have, I'm going to kind of blend another image that I have. I just have to kind of go and find it. So I went and played a little bit, and I wanted to try the artistic, and so we ended up getting a little bit different look with that. I added on and played a little bit with the I'm still not getting the minimalist look as far as the eyes, mainly because I don't have them as with the minimal let's see, dot eyes. We're going to try that again. And then we're going to try the prompt inside several different of the generators just to see the variations of results for under the storybook that you can get. There we go. Now we've gotten a little bit, we don't have the dot eyes, but we do have the more minimalist look, and we do have the little fishing bucket and everything again. So that shows you how you can do that. Now let's go back in here, because I really want to show you as far as the storybook, like let's see, some of the different things that the arrangements and stuff. So a printable cutout sheet layout. I'm just going to show you kind of what you can do with that. Over here. Sometimes it's all about qualifying, the qualifying phrases that you can use to get different things. And so I'm just going to show you what this one thing does, and then you can apply it to other things. We're going to go cutout sheet layout. So I'm not giving it what to do. It's just going to come up with its own thing to give us a sample of how it interprets that one line. Okay, so this one is not, that one did not interpret it exactly right. So print out cutout sheet layout, and then we can say, I'll tell you what, let's go back in and go over here to one of these. Let's see if we can add it to the bunny and see what we get. Now that's not in Storybook, but that's just going to show you how you can use some of these layout things. Okay. So printable cutout sheet layout. Okay, I've got to override something. Let's go in here. Fill paper, guide paper, beneath the image, layout, study with caption. Okay. Okay, so let's do this. Multiple rabbits. Let's see what it does. There we go. So cutout sheet can be like if you're doing fussy cuts and stuff, then you can use that to get a little bit of space so people can kind of cut those rabbits out and everything. So you would change it up to whatever application you want to do. Like I said, I don't have a lot of time, so I have to kind of pull things here and yonder. But anyway, so here's like tiny outfits, tabs along the shoulders. So if we were going to do a full paper doll sheet, and I'm not going to give it any qualifications of how to do that, I'm just going to go back in here, and we're going to, no colors, no anything, just because we want to do this as quickly as we can, just to show you the potential. Okay, and we are also going to put tiny outfit tabs along the, let's do seasonal wardrobe pieces. And then let's do the tiny outfit tabs along the shoulders and see what it actually reads. And again, some are going to read properly in each generator, and some generators just don't interpret certain phrasing the same way. So that's where you try the different generators. There we go, but it did it. Okay, so what it did was it gave us seasonal. We got a printable cutout sheet. Everything's to the side and everything. Now this did, you know, a set here, and this is not a set, obviously. That's a set, but we have two odd shoes here. So that's, but I didn't tell it to do anything different. I didn't say 3 pairs of shoes. I just randomly told it to do things, and it did. And so you've got different things, but and it said tabs on the shoulders. So the actual shirts do have the tabs that could be folded down. So overall, Artistly did a pretty good job with this one, and this was under Steampunk Journal. Tiny outfit tabs, that's what that was. Full page paper doll sheet with seasonal wardrobe pieces. Now if we went back in and we regenerated it based on taking away the wardrobe pieces, then we may get the actual dolls, and we can see. We didn't tell it to do dolls before, but we did specifically say to do the seasonal wardrobe. And we could have said winter, or we could have been specific about the season. There we go. So now we've got a little bit of both. We've got our doll here, and we said tabs, and it actually put tabs on her head. So again, we could refine that to get more what we want, but it did put the little tabs around. So for anybody that's doing that, and we didn't do a lot of specification, that is what the playbook's for. You can get all the wording to build out the prompt the way, the direction you want to go. We didn't give it any direction about how, you know, whether it was watercolor, whether it was, you know, whatever. So that's where you come in using all of the different things. Okay, so for instance, here is this is one of the starters. So we're going to go in and we're going to paste it and play with it. We're going to leave it where it is, but we're going to paste this one in. And it says Vintage Storybook illustration of, and we need a subject. So a family of bears eating honey. Okay, and then this just gives some the palette, the color palette, and it says that it's a sweet nursery book composition. So we're going to see what it gives us. See if it gives us a family of bears and what kind of finish it gives us. All those things. There we go. So we do. This looks like an antique book. It gives us some honey. It gives us a little family of bears. And up here would be room that you could actually write a poem or a storybook page and everything. So if this was your inspiration for your book and these were your inspirational characters, then you would try to recreate those characters in whatever way that you choose to do that to get your consistent characters. But it did a good job. That does look very vintage. It does look like a storybook illustration. So good job with that. Okay, and then here, this is a nostalgic nursery print. It's got some different technique to it. So let's see how we want to treat that and what we want it to be. Take this out and replace it. Okay. And here's our subject. It says to change. Nursery print featuring a sweet baby lamb. And we'll see what kind of print we get from that. It's giving us some specific, it already has built in there we go. So there, it doesn't have a whole lot. So it's a pastel, it's a delicate watercolor brush strokes, faint storybook paper texture, simple framed wall art composition. So you could write something here. If you wanted the lamb to, be larger or fill it, or you wanted to take Canva and you want to take the little lamb out, we can even change the orientation, the aspect ratio of it, not orientation, but the aspect ratio, and then we get a little different look. We've got a little lamb. So, alright, so let's go back in. We're going to go back to, let's go to page 8, and so we've got, let's see, let's go back up here. Okay, so part 4 and then part 5 starts the eras. So we've got the 1920s, so you've got your Art Deco. Let me just show you. Oops, where did I go? Goodness. Okay. Sorry about that. There we go. So we're going to go back to 8 and down here to Art Deco. So part 5 is the 1920s and Art Deco, so you can get a sample of the types of textures and things and that. And then it walks through the same way. You've got all the details and stuff. So we're going to go back to page 9. And then you've got your part 6, which is your old Hollywood section. Part 7 is the Americana homemaker and everything. Now, I have a caution for you guys. If you're going to be doing nostalgic type things, be very careful with the way that if you start asking for these images, the AI may bring in some real commercial old advertising elements into it. Be sure to double check and make sure that you don't have real names. Double check it for trademark and stuff like that, because you do not want any of that. You don't want to be hassled with somebody making you take something down or selling a product and getting sued or anything like that. So, but you want to make sure that all of that is correct. So, and then part 8 is mid-century modern. Really cool. And let's see. Part 10, let's see, part 9 is 1960s. So you've got your mod and psychedelic. And then 10 is the groovy folk retro era. And then we've got part 11 is like the 80s, so it's like your neons and stuff. So neon, chrome, synthwave. And then, you know, it's got the typography for each one and everything. It's just got pretty much all the elements you need. Visual stimulation for it, all these phrases. And then 1990s is like your grunge, zine, mall nostalgia. And then part 13 is vintage travel and postcards and stuff, which is really cool. That's really popular for a lot of the junk journal things and all. And then we've got 14 is Western, Americana, and your like rodeo, farmhouse, and vintage. So really it walks you through all of this. And then we go down into, we have like a bonus vintage holiday nostalgic area. We have included, you know, like common holiday subjects and stuff. All of that. So it's a very complete coverage for doing retro and vintage and era specific things, so that you know what to ask for when you're trying to do your things. So you get those, you get sample prompts to kind of get you started. That's so you're not looking at a blank screen. By the time you're done with it, it will totally be your own prompt. I mean, I don't give the prompts for you to just leave them the way they are. I mean, not that you couldn't, you could. But then you risk potentially someone else ending up with a very similar image to yours when you're using the AI, because they're not differentiating like they used to. So the more you change it and make it your own, the better you're going to be. And so I think that's really important. So recently, I did start doing the playbooks, sort of like I did cottagecore, and then I've got the retro, the vintage and the retro, this one. And then I have several merchandising. I have the holiday merchandising playbook that I've released. I also have a regular merchandising, you know, like merchandising for your Etsy listings and stuff. That one, commercial type thing, and that's very important. It's different. If you need to know more about them, you know, drop me a line in the comments. You know, I love to read the comments and what you think about things. If you have any questions, you know, I try really hard to get to them fairly quickly, you know, quick as I can. Be sure and check out the description, because it has all the links to everything. You absolutely can find more information about all of the things I have if you go to my website. Now, I do not, if you order from there, you're going to be choosing which way that you're going to pay, you know, which venue you're going to use or which platform. I do Etsy and Gumroad, and if you're in the EU, you have to use Gumroad. I don't have the capability on Etsy to sell, unfortunately, to the EU. So, but down in the description, my web address is going to be there, so that you can just, you know, you can take and copy and paste it or click it or do whatever. But it's designitwithtammygibbs.com. My name is Tammie, so just make sure you spell it correctly. But so all that information will be there, so you can check it out further, see if it's something you could use. I hope that the little tips and tricks that I showed you, some demonstration on taking and building the prompts and how that part works, kind of helps you to see what you can do as far as the flavor. Before I go, I did want to go back in and just scroll through some of these retro images that I created even before the video, just to give you some samples of some of that art that I was able to create just on the fly. I love these images, and then here is a really cool image. You can see where it did almost like the little fussy cut outline and everything. Again, that was a very, this is just, these were test images, not for any specific purpose. So I didn't really add those separate. Now, here's a cute little bear character I thought was adorable. This little, the little bird in the basket, I actually did take this one in because it turned out so well. And I removed the background just to create like a clip art image, and it is so cute. And then here's a cute little boy. Here's the butterflies. You've got more of the jars, apothecary labels and stuff. Let's see what else we've got. Oh yeah. Just a lot of different things. Let me just show you how cool these are. Aren't these adorable? These are beautiful. I had a really good time playing with the different possibilities, you know, very quickly. Just so I would be able to show you. And then aren't these cute? You know, you don't necessarily think about retro being something that would be cute for a little boy home decor, you know, bedroom decor, or like for birthday parties and stuff. But the little rockets and stuff turned out so cute. Okay, I think that was most of the ones I did. And then look at this, like for wall art, you know, mid-century modern. I mean, that would be such a cool, you know, wall art pack, is like genuine looking. And this one was done with the grunge scrapbook. But anyway, that mid-century modern atomic wall art stuff, that stuff's really popular in certain, you know, circles and stuff. So, you know, you could do like a whole set. Let me see what another one, if I recreated another one. I just think that would be really good for wall art. And also another popular thing for wall art are those travel posters, or like the ones that look like rodeo posters and stuff. So you absolutely have the ingredients to, oh, see, look how cute that is. So you could do like a whole set of these, you know, and sell them as wall art. And, you know, that would be really cool. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the video and that you learned a little bit about, number one, the playbook, and also the prompting, because it really doesn't matter about like where you get your words. If you already know your words, then you're doing better than most people. The playbooks are just there to make that process a little bit easier, so you don't, I do the research for you and put it all together so that you don't have to, that you can just flip to the pages or click on a hyperlink and go straight to it and pick out a color, a texture, you know, brush strokes, color schemes, the wording to get certain layouts, the wording to get your, you know, different subjects that would be natural to that particular time frame, or, you know, art. All of those things for this particular one. And for the cottagecore, same thing, you know, those different elements that allow you to create within that niche of cottagecore, or that niche of vintage and retro, more authentically and more intentionally, because you have all the wording to be able to communicate with the AI to let them know exactly what direction you're wanting to put them in, instead of just, I want a vintage label. You know, I mean, because honestly, at this point, if you type that in, you may get something gorgeous, and the next time you may get something that's trash. You just, you know, it's getting harder to differentiate yourself. So the more that you can, the more deliberate you can be with your prompting, the better and more successful you can be. Well, I think I've gone on long enough. Thanks again for watching. I hope that you will like you will subscribe to the channel, of course, please, if you have not. And I know I have a lot. I have like more than 100 videos by now, and you are welcome to visit the website. It kind of has some of the ones divided up into categories, so it's a little easier for you to navigate. I do have playlists, but the playlists are kind of messy. They just are. YouTube's playlists, the way it's done is just for my brain, and the way that a lot of my videos kind of cross over different things, it's a little messy. And so I did put, you know, some of them in an education hub on my website. If you click on it, it's going to take you back to YouTube. Just like when you click to buy a playbook, it's going to take you, you can either choose Etsy or you can choose to purchase through Gumroad. Either way, you know, you can go either way, you know, and read more about it. It's just more or less for a little bit of a convenience stop so that you can see things and scroll a little easier or whatever. If you're interested in Artistly, Artistly is still a wonderful investment. I've told this in the past. I purchased in fall of 23. I have never paid another cent. I paid right around $150, like $147, $149. I'm not even sure. I did get that deluxe package, and they have upgraded. We are on version 6 now, and they are talking about, you know, another upgrade that'll be coming version 7, and I've still yet to pay another cent for Artistly, and I have been making money off of it for now 3 years, you know, because we're in 2026 now, and so definitely was worth my investment. And so my affiliate link is down there in the description. I would love it. You help me support the channel. It does not cost you anything more. If they're running a discount and you see a coupon code, you're welcome to use it in conjunction with my link. And they normally will honor that as well. So you get the discount, and it helps me too. And I have a group on Facebook that you're welcome to join. There's there's information about that on the website and on, you know, in the description. So do all my things, you know, get as much as you can of the freely given information and help that I give you. And then if you see that you think it will help you, then of course when you purchase the playbooks, that helps me as well. And I will continue making videos and continue making playbooks to help you do what you do more efficiently and more creatively. And until next time, happy creating.